All right, good afternoon, everyone. This is the Central Florida Computer Society Windows Special Interest Group for Sunday, August 11th, 2019. I'm Huey Poplock. I'm sitting in my home in Bradenton, Florida, and we are live at the Central Florida Computer Society meeting in Castleberry, Florida at the library. The Central Florida Computer Society has been meeting at the library now for quite a while, and I moved away from that area, and they asked me to continue the Windows Special Interest Group via the internet. So we're doing that once a month, and you can go to huey.net/WinSIG, find the date of each of our meetings, and there's not only the list of the items that we cover, but also a recording. I also have, let's go ahead and minimize this, and let's bring up, let's go here, bring up huey.net. And how you get to huey.net is go to huey.net and then go to the WinSIG, find the notes for 2019. We do have notes going back 2008. But let's find this month's, and it's here. And these are all the notes for today. Now I'm going to backtrack here, come back here, and let's look at last month's. Here's all of the topics. It's coming up. Here's all of the topics from last month. And then right below it is a recording of that meeting. And you should be able to go back to any of my meetings. Go ahead, and if you're in a user group, you can use those. For your user group meeting, you can download the file or use any part of the file that you want for your meetings. I'll be glad to give you permission to do so, and have at it. So let's look at what we're doing for today. And if you remember last month, I tried to do some things, try to make it a little simpler and use my Evernote for my notes instead of going to the web pages. And so let me bring up Evernote. I thought I had started it, but I guess that was before I rebooted. So give it a chance to come up. And it's got to open the database. And what I discovered, the Windows version of Evernote has something they call presentation mode. And it is going to save and make some things a little bit different. And you'll see what I'm talking about here in just a moment. I've taken all of the articles for today and have placed them in a notebook. So they're all right here. And let it catch up to me. And I had a piece of paper here that had my list, and it's not here. So I guess we'll have to do this. Okay, so we're going to talk about internet speeds first, and understanding internet speeds. There we go. So instead of using this article as it sits, or instead of going to the website, which I would click here, I'm going to come up here to something that says present the note. Now take a look at what's going to happen. I hope. Okay. I guess you have to click it a little harder. It's loading that note. And it puts it in a presentation mode. Nice and big, and you should be able to read it on the screen there. And hopefully it's recording it properly. This is understanding internet speeds from internet support. This is from AT&T, so there might be some references to them, but bear in mind that this is a general article. So many factors affect the home internet service you purchased from AT&T or whoever you've purchased it from, and influence the actual internet speed you experience at any given time. The internet service, oh, this is the article I had a little bit of trouble with, isn't it? So we're going to get out of this, and yeah, so that because of some things in the article, I'm going to go ahead and just go to the article. And then I'll come back. All the other ones worked fine. This one got jumbled in Evernote because there were areas in it where you had to show more, and that didn't work very well for saving the information. So the internet service levels and speeds. So your service capability speed, your internet speed, is the rate in which internet traffic is delivered to you and from your home. Many factors affect the internet service. The data and content you send or receive travels many paths before reaching its final destination and being returned to you. For instance, the wiring in your home. Between your connected computers and devices and your modem or gateway through the network device located outside your home that connects to whatever service provider you have, and then from that service provider to the internet, which has millions of private networks, and then throughout the internet service provider, ISP networks, used by websites to send your content. So there's lots of people and lots of wires and connections that affect that speed. So even if you have very high speed internet, you may have very slow connections when you go to certain websites or when you're doing certain things. For instance, if you go to Microsoft and you're downloading an update, that's very slow. They have that, so it is very slow. So they can have a lot of bandwidth and have a lot of people doing it at the same time. Okay, what about internet speed? Let's make this bigger for you. Come on. There we go. And let's full screen this. What about internet speed? Well, each internet service has a different capability speed range. The term speed is used to describe the rate a particular broadband internet access service can transmit. So some speeds are very high, some aren't. Sometimes you don't need that high speed, sometimes you do. Factors impacting the internet speed. DSL and lower broadband services are usually wired using copper. Most high-speed broadband services deliver internet via a hybrid of fiber optics and copper. And then you've got the fiber optic, which delivers internet directly to your home using 100% fiber network. That's what I have. I have it from Frontier in my area, and it's called Fios. In some areas, that's Verizon has the Fios network. Fios stands for fiber optics, and it's very fast. Now, I have one of the slower speeds. I'm getting 150 up and down because it is fiber. The speed can go either direction very fast. I can get 150, I can get 300, I can get 500, and I can get a gigabit. But each one faster costs more money. I find 150 seems to work fine for me, and I'm happy with it. Now, your home network also can affect the speed of your broadband. The age of the wiring inside your home, if you're wired, the distance between the gateway and your device, whether it be wired or Wi-Fi, the age and type of gateway or router. So if you have a chance to get a newer router from your provider, if you're getting your router from your provider, occasionally getting a new router is a good thing, but they don't like to do that because they got to buy more equipment that way. So sometimes you just have to say it's not working right and hope that they'll let you swap it out. Also, the number of devices connected to the gateway makes a big difference. And and when I do my presentations on cutting the cord, this is one of the things that I talk about, is the devices connected to your gateway. Let's just talk about my house. I have Wemo plugs, which are smart plugs. In my house, I have one in the bedroom for the bedroom light, two in the living room for living room lights, and one out in the porch or in the lanai for light out there. I also have two smart light bulbs, one in the front, one in the back, out in the outside lights. I have an Amazon which will control all of the Amazon Echo, which also needs connection to my Wi-Fi and my broadband, in other words. And it controls all of those devices. Plus, I have my Chromebook, I have my desktop, we have a smart TV in the living room, now my smart TV, new smart TV in the bedroom, are all using Wi-Fi, so they're all using part of the broadband. And let's see what else I have. I have my phone is using a mechanism that connects my Google Voice, the OB connection, and that's using Wi-Fi. And I also have a Fing box which is connected to my network. So all of these things are using part of the bandwidth that I have. And I know Arvin has a no, not a toaster. There are toasters that you can get that are Internet of Things. He has a microwave. I've also looked at getting one of those microwaves that I can connect using my Amazon Echo, but it needs the Wi-Fi connection as well. So there's a lot of connections there to my home network. Then the connection types. The wired connections, either Cat 5 or Cat 6 cables are plugged into the port. I'm using Cat 5, which are fast. And my desktop, which is wired, is a lot faster than any of the Wi-Fi connections. But then the Wi-Fi connections also do have flexibility to move throughout the house, and it isn't as fast as the wired connection. So if you do a speed test on a wired item and then disconnect it and it has Wi-Fi and you check the Wi-Fi, you will see a difference in the speed. Okay, and so we got the type and number of devices. Hang on. The internet devices do come in all shapes and sizes. And I just went through a list of all the ones I have. For example, your laptop only supports 100 megabits, and you have a gigabits, 1 gigabit of service. Your laptop will not be able to reach the maximum speed.
Huey?
Yeah.
I have a comment on the Wi-Fi. Yesterday, we tried out the Acer's club computer, and it was not very fast, but the router that I was using does have a 2 and a 5. It's dual channel. And I had mentioned, I thought I'd heard that the 2 would give you better distance. The 5 gives you more speed. I did check it after we finished up, and the laptop didn't even see the 5 connection. So I've got to take it to the room where that is and test it out again. And but that's another distinction that will affect this.
No, it's an older computer and it may not be wired. That is one of the other things that you have to consider, that some laptops that you buy may not be capable of 5G and will only do the 2.4, and so you're only going to get the slower speed. And I would imagine that computer is old enough, it probably isn't capable of 5G.
Okay.
So I wouldn't spend a lot of time on it.
All right, thank you.
The TV and internet, your TV and internet enter your home through the same terminal. Both use services at the same time. Now, remember, this is AT&T talking. Both services at the same time consumes more available bandwidth and can affect your internet download speeds. For example, in certain speed tiers, watching multiple HD TV shows at the same time is as very data-intensive internet usage, such as downloading an entire HD movie on your laptop, may lead to reduced internet speeds as compared with such speeds when no other uses are placed on the home network. So what you're using and how you're using it can affect other pieces of equipment in your house as well. Other networks and websites that you visit, even though you purchased a specific speed and whatever network it is highly reliable, the websites you interact with may not provide their services at the same speeds. That's why when you do a speed test and connect in various places, you may get totally different speeds, or even going to the same one because it goes through different legs on the way. Some of those legs may not be as fast, and so it will affect. You can only go as the slowest speed in your connection. So if you're going through 3 tiers of connections and the middle one is slow, having fast at both ends isn't going to make any difference. Website server capacity can impact your internet speed. So if you get to a website that's getting a lot of activity, it may slow the delivery down, and the website owners may use other ISPs to deliver content back to you. These network serving arrangements may also impact your internet speeds. And then visiting sites during their peak hours may also result in slower speeds. And then some other things: customer equipment, connection type, network issues, and internet usage. And now there are several speed tests out there, and whatever ones you want to use, go ahead and use. And you might want to stay with one just to be consistent, but you can try others as well. Okay, let's go to the next item, and I'm going to minimize this, come back to here, and what do we have next? There's our list. We can check that one off. How to print web pages without ads and other clutter. Okay. And find the article. And by the way, this also has what they call a laser pointer. I'm just moving my mouse, and it becomes a pointer. How to print web pages without ads and other clutter. Now, the other thing I can do with this is when I click here, that full screens it, and then I can make it this way so you can see a nice big picture of whatever it is they're talking about. Then I just come back here. We're back to the article. Articles on the web come with advertisements and other clutter. If you print them, you often get all that junk, but you can cut out the ads and other extraneous elements with a feature built into your web browser. We recommend using the reading mode in web browsers to eliminate this. And different browsers, and it's going to explain what they are here in just a minute. In this reading mode, your web browser creates a special view with just text and important images. But this mode isn't just for reading. You can also print from it and get a better, more streamlined hard copy. All you have to do is activate the web browser's reading mode before printing the article. So, Google Chrome. Google Chrome has a hidden reader mode. You can enable it. After you do, you click Menu and Distill Page. If you don't want to mess with the hidden flags, we recommend opening the web page in another browser and printing it from there. Now, the hidden reader mode is something you have to turn on. And what you'll have to do is go to this article, click it, and it'll give you instructions on how to do it if you're using Chrome. But as an example, let's go ahead and get out of this for a moment. I'm in, let's see, let me get Chrome up here.
And Huey, this is Mike. I just tried it on my Chromebook, and I don't have that menu.
No, it is not on the, it is not on Chromebook.
Okay.
I'm not sure whether you can turn it on the same way. You'll have to do a search on that. I don't recall. I don't think it's there. So let's go to a page. One that I use a lot is let's see, MSN. No, I don't want to do that. Let's, I'm trying to think of one that's got a lot of ads. Let's do USA.com. Hate to go to these because there's so much political stuff that I don't like doing it. That's not the right one. Trying to think of a good website to go to. I know, CNET. They always have a lot of junk on theirs. We'll find an article quickly. Okay, let's hear. I'm just clicking on the first article. It's there. Now here's the article. And of course, I'm not sure why. But what you do is you come over here and you find distill page. Takes a few seconds. It loads the page with just the pictures in the article and none of the junk. So when you go to print it, all of this will print very easily and very nicely. So let's go back to did I close it? Here we go. And back here. So this is what it looks like, and you just let's go ahead and that's what I just showed you. You click the three dots up here, and it'll show distill page here, and you click it, and it will show you the page without the ads, without the menus, and so on. And you can print from there. Now in Mozilla Firefox, you click the article-shaped toggle reader view button in the address bar. And let's show you there what it looks like. It looks like this. And let's see if this is the whole picture. You just click that, and that will take care of it. Put it in the reader mode, and you'll then be able to print without all of the information. On the Microsoft Edge, you click the book-shaped reading view, and it's going to look like this. And icon on the address bar, or you can press Control, Shift, and the letter R. If you use Apple Safari, you can click on Reader. And let's see, on the left side of the address bar, it looks like a few lines of text. So that looks like this, and you click this, and that's how you can do it in Safari. And you can also use Command-Shift-R. After enabling reader mode in your browser, open its menu and click Print, just like normal. This prints the streamlined, more minimal version of the web page. That cut down version also appears in the print view window, so you'll see it without the ads, and so it'll look like this. And again, because this is so large, it's distorting a little bit, but it looks like this. So you'll see it without the advertisements. You'll see the different pages, however long, depending on how long it is. If you're trying to print a web page that isn't an article, the reader view icon either doesn't appear or is grayed out. This is because reading mode only works with web articles, as your browser can automatically strip those down. And this was written by Chris Hoffman, who's editor-in-chief of How to Geek. And he's also the author of the article that I posted in my newsletter. And if you're not getting my newsletter, you should be signed up for it. It's once a month. It's a reminder of these meetings. And just go to huey.net and the sign up is on the right-hand side of the page. Just put in your name and email address. That's all we require, and you won't get overloaded. And if you decide you don't want it anymore, you can unsubscribe at any time. It goes through MailChimp, and it will take care of it for you. So let's get out of this and find our next article. How are we doing on time? Worked good. And so we got this article and how to clean boot Windows 10 and how to exit safe mode in Windows 10. I'm going to cover these fairly quickly. I mostly posted these as a reference. You might want to keep these articles somewhere because you probably won't do it until you need to. And then you're going to say, where is that? How do I find out how to do that? So let's do the how to clean boot first. And we'll make that. Okay. Open the run box with the WinR keyboard shortcut, or either that, or you can just type in CMD in the box, which will open your DOS prompt, and you type in MSConfig. When you do, this will open the system configuration window. Go to the General tab and change the startup selection to Selective Startup. I'm sorry, this opens up, allows you to open up the file. I was getting ahead of myself here. But just do a WinR on the keyboard shortcut, type in MSConfig, and it will open up the MS or Microsoft configuration program, which looks like this. And when I clicked on it, it wants to open mine up, or it's connecting to something. You've got General, Boot Services, Services, Startup, and Tools. Next, go to the Services tab. Remember, I showed you those tabs. Select Hide All Microsoft Services option. Once the services have been hidden, then disable all of them. So let's come back to here. Okay, we need to do this first. It wants to keep opening that when I do that. Why it's different color, I don't know. But you go to services, and I guess we can't do that here. Let's see here. Come on. We'll do it here. I'm not sure why it's changing the color of it. But anyway, you go to services, and then down here, hide all Microsoft services. What that does is that makes it so everything, including the Microsoft services, are listed there. If you then hide the Microsoft ones, and you need those to boot, when you have everything but Microsoft there, you can then say select all of them, disable all of them. And let's see what they say in the article. Go to Services tab, select hide all the services. Once the services have been hidden, use the disable all to disable all of the remaining Microsoft services. Then you exit the clean boot. Once you're done, you reboot your system, select each item one by one, and disable them all. Open the Task Manager and go to the Startup tab. And then select each item one by one. I'm not sure why that's doing that. It has to do with the pointer. Disable them all. Once you're done, reboot your system, and it'll be a clean boot. The safe mode versus clean boot. Why do you want to do them? There we go. We mentioned that there's a difference between the safe mode and clean boot. Safe mode is a super minimal state that Windows runs in. Only the bare basic services and features work. You can't even set a wallpaper because the graphics settings are low. Additionally, you'll have to manually enable networking in the safe mode if you want internet connectivity. In the stark contrast, clean boot is a lot like booting to a Windows 10 PC that has no other third-party app installed on it. All the Microsoft services and apps that run at startup are disabled. You can choose to run a third-party app, but its services will be blocked. All Windows 10 still works with its features, which means you'll still be able to connect to the internet, use Bluetooth, and do a bunch of other things. So clean boot, boot itself, and I can't see that, so I got to bring it down a little bit here. Clean boot itself isn't an official mode for Windows 10. It's a popular name given to a desktop that's booted to under the above conditions. So let's get out of this. Escape. So that's clean boot. Now, if you go into safe mode in the way that we just talked about, and let me see if I can change this. I'm not sure what's causing that. Yeah, let's do that. Well, that's still doing it. I'm not sure why it's graying itself out like it's doing with a little different color, but that's all right. We can live with that. How to exit safe mode. If you're having trouble with a Windows 10 system to the point where it's almost become impossible to get anything done or even troubleshoot it, you should use boot to safe mode and then try troubleshooting. By the way, that's a link. If you click that from the article, it'll take you and tell you exactly how to go to safe mode. And then try troubleshooting it. This method for booting into safe mode isn't exactly simple. It used to be you'd hold a couple of keys down when it was booting, and it would give you the choice of going into safe mode. You can't do it that way anymore. So you have Windows 10 is much different on that. And if you want to exit safe mode, if you've booted into safe mode from a functioning desktop, returning to a normal session is as easy as restarting your desktop. Open the Start menu, click the power button, select Restart from the options, and you should boot to your normal desktop. Booting to safe. Sometimes the system repeatedly boots to safe mode without the user having to do anything, and restarting it just sends you back into the safe mode. Then you have to go in and check your configuration. Your boot options may have changed. Use the Win+R keyboard shortcut to open the run box and enter the following. Enter MSConfig, and in that window opens, go to the boot tab and make sure safe boot option isn't checked. And then that should solve that. You want to check the drivers, you want to audit system startups, startup items, and hardware problems, and then audit the system items. This keeps wanting to open up something. I think it's this article causing this. So you've got all of these items under startup, and you've got some disabled. You can enable and disable as you want if you think one of them is causing a problem. And that's in Task Manager now. It used to be separate. Okay. So let's go back up to the top. We covered those articles fairly quickly. Are there any questions at all? Let me see, chat box. Let's see if there's anything there. Nope. Okay, Mike, Ron Brown did say the works fine on Chromebook, just needs to be turned on. So somehow you'll have to figure out how to turn on the ability to have the feature.
I researched it and found that it's available in the Canary channel, which is one of the beta developer channels.
Okay.
And while working on a remotely on a notebook, we needed to be able to select the boot drive that we wanted. And under Windows 10 with the Windows Startup Manager, sometimes you can't do that by pressing a function key. You actually have to do it from within Windows like you do to get into the safe mode. And in that boot menu, you have to tell it on the next boot, go into the BIOS or go into the boot selection manager.
Yep.
The function keys just don't work anymore with the Windows Manager running, Windows Boot Manager running.
Okay, let's see, next item. So we got this done and this one. Oh, I have a little video on fast startup. And there were some interesting things in here that I did not know. And it's just a short video and I'd like to play it. And let's see, I think I made a direct link to it. No, guess I didn't. Thought I did. So we'll just come here and click on YouTube. And then I'm going to stop it just for a second. Try to get past the ads. Help you to start. I guess you got to do that and skip the ad.
You might not realize that when you go to shut down your Windows 10 computer, it doesn't actually completely shut it down the way you expect. In fact, Windows 10 has a feature that's on by default called Fast Startup, which is kind of like in between a hibernation type shutdown and a traditional type shutdown. Now, I'm getting ahead of myself, and all of the things I just talked about will be made clear, but to go back to the question in the title, should you disable this Fast Startup feature? And obviously, if the answer was as simple as yes or no, the video would be over already. It's clearly not that simple, but we will try to explain it. So to first understand the context behind this, let's go over quickly the different types of shutdowns available in Windows. You're probably familiar with the names of all these, but you might not have known exactly the differences between them. That's what we're going to talk about first. We can first start off with sleep mode. You can kind of think of this basically like the computer being put on pause, where power is cut to everything unnecessary, all unnecessary components like the screen, probably the hard drives, and the processor stops in its tracks, but may still be in an extremely low power state. And everything going on in the computer, the processes, are going to be stored in the RAM, and the RAM is going to be continuously provided with minimal power, because when the RAM loses power, it loses all its data, unlike a hard drive that keeps its data even when it's powered off. And because all the data is still kept in the RAM as usual, it's very fast to resume from sleep mode. However, because the RAM has to be continuously powered, it does use up a little bit of energy. So that means that if you are in sleep mode, the battery still could die. And if the battery for on a laptop, for example, or if there's a power outage on a desktop and power is lost either way to the computer while in sleep mode, then any unsaved data is going to be lost because that was stored in the RAM, and when the RAM loses power, it's gone. The next type of shutdown is hibernation mode. This is when, unlike the sleep mode where everything is just kept in the RAM is copied to the hard drive, and then everything is shut down completely. So all the components are shut down, there's no power to the RAM or anything, but it's stored on the hard drive, and then what happens is when you turn the computer back on, all the RAM data that was stored on the hard drive is copied back onto the RAM, and then the computer basically continues where it left off as if you never shut the computer down. Everything is still running as it was, any unsaved data is still there. And the advantage of this over sleep mode is because the RAM is not storing the data, it's on the hard drive, even if the computer completely runs out of battery power or the computer loses power completely from the wall, then it's not going to lose any data because the computer's already off. It doesn't rely on any electricity to store its state. The downside of this, though, is that it does take a little bit longer to boot up from hibernation mode because that data has to be copied from the hard drive onto the RAM, and hard drives are significantly slower than RAM. But if you are doing this with an SSD, that's of course going to be a lot faster than a hard drive, but everything you do with an SSD is going to be faster than a hard drive. The next type of shutdown is hybrid sleep, which is actually the default sleep mode in Windows 10. You might not have even known this, but this is how it works. It's basically a combination of hibernation and sleep mode, but when you go to sleep, it doesn't actually just store things to the RAM, it both stores everything to the RAM, keeps it in low power, but also stores all that RAM data onto the hard drive, so just in case the laptop runs out of batteries or the computer loses power from the wall outlet, then that data, yes, it's gone from the RAM, but it's still on the hard drive, so if the computer boots up again and realizes, oh my god, the RAM data is gone, it still has it from the hard drive. So this is kind of like the best of both worlds, where if everything's fine on boot up, it's super instant, but if the data would have been lost, it's not anymore. So it might take a little bit longer to actually shut down the computer and go into sleep mode because it has to write that data, but you wouldn't even notice it on boot up because if the data's there, then it's just gonna wipe that temporary data in the background while you're using it. No harm, no foul. Now, even though I did mention this is enabled by default on most computers with Windows, on my computer, at least when I check the available power options, it's not, because apparently when I have Hyper-V enabled, which is a Windows virtualization feature, it does not work with this, so you might want to check whether or not you can enable this. And then finally, before we get to the fast startup, we have the traditional regular shutdown, of course. And this is just when you shut down Windows, all the applications are closed, users are logged off, the kernel is shut down, which is like the core of the operating system, all power is cut to components, everything's just shut down. When you boot up, everything's loaded fresh from scratch, so it's all renewed. And finally, we come to fast startup, the title of this video, which is basically in between a hibernation type shutdown and a regular type shutdown. And this is actually the default in Windows 10. You might not have known this, but when you do a regular shutdown, by default, it's gonna do this fast startup shutdown. And unlike a regular hibernation where all data is stored on the hard drive and then loaded back into the RAM so it continues as is, with a fast startup shutdown, all the regular data that you might expect is deleted, like the user's logged out, any running processes are shut down, any unsaved data is gone. However, Windows does not actually shut down the kernel and the drivers, so the most basic running process, low-level processes are actually stored on the hard drive to continue. So when you turn the computer back on, the most basic operating system files and processes don't have to be reloaded from scratch. So you have the drivers get automatically reloaded as is, the operating system kind of boots back in, but you still have to do things like logging back into the user, running the user startup programs, anything like that. But because the actual operating system base files and processes and drivers don't have to be reloaded, then it's going to be significantly faster to boot up from a cold boot, even though it looks like it, it's not really that way. So this especially is going to be a bigger difference on a hard drive, which, you know, it's going to take a long time to load those files from scratch, whereas it's just going to be basically loaded already running onto the RAM. It's going to be a lot faster. But is there a downside to this fast startup feature? And the answer is, well, there can be in some situations, yes. For example, if you don't know about this feature, then if you go to shut down your computer because something is going wrong and you're like, oh, well, I'm just going to turn the computer off and on again to fix it, you go to do this shutdown and then you turn it back on, you think you just did a cold reboot where everything's reloaded, but that might not be the case. So if the problem is still occurring, it might have actually been fixed by a cold shutdown, but because everything from the base operating system wasn't actually shut down, then the problem could persist. And this is also going to apply with drivers. So maybe your graphics card is acting up or something like that. There's an error in the drivers. Again, you go to do a full shutdown, you think you're doing a shutdown, and it doesn't fix anything, even though it should.
Ford's Copilot 360 offers 5 driver assist features. So I think Bliss.
But there is another important thing to know, and that is that the restart function is not affected by this fast startup. So if you go to the start menu, click the power button, and actually hit restart, then it does actually dump all the files, dump all the kernel processes, and restarts everything from scratch. So just know that if you're going to be restarting your computer to fix something that's going wrong, you're going to have to do an actual restart, and then it'll do what you expect. Whereas if you do a cold shutdown, it might not. And I think a lot of people might have this backwards. They think, oh, a restart doesn't actually shut everything down, so I'm just going to press the shutdown button and turn it back on, when really with this fast startup feature you should be doing the opposite. So as long as you know this, there's really not a reason to necessarily disable the fast startup feature unless you have some other reason. And one of these reasons, for example, could be if you're doing dual boot. Apparently when you do the fast startup shutdown, it basically locks the Windows drive in some way, so that if you boot into another operating system, it might not be able to access that drive well. Or if you mess around with the partitions while in another operating system after doing a shutdown with the fast startup and the kernel's still loaded there and you mess with the partitions, that could corrupt things. So it's been recommended, I've seen recommendations where if you're dual booting 2 different operating systems, it's better to actually disable fast startup in Windows. If you want to check if fast startup is enabled on your computer, which it probably is by default with Windows 10, you can go to the control panel and then hit hardware and sound, power options, and then on the left hand side click choose what power buttons do, and then in this menu it'll show you whether that box is checked or not for fast startup, and then you click the UAC permissions thing if you want to change this option. Now of course I wanted to see how this setting affected my boot time on my computer, so I did a test where I timed from the moment I pressed the power button into when the desktop for Windows first appeared, and then timed that. And the results were that when the fast startup was on, it was about 40 seconds from the time I pressed the button to when the desktop appeared, and when the fast startup was off, it was like 55 seconds. So it's a significant difference, not massive. I do have a fast SSD, an NVMe M.2 SSD. If it was a hard drive, it would probably be a much bigger difference though. And then just for curiosity, I also timed how long it was from sleep, and with that it was only about 10 seconds. So clearly from sleep it is much faster. So really, I think it's just important to know about this setting, that it exists and how it works. So the big thing, of course, is going to be when you go to turn your computer off and on again to fix something, know that you're going to have to do the restart. That really should be the big takeaway from this video. And if you, for whatever reason, don't want the computer to behave like this on shutdown, now at least you know how to know if it is doing that and how you can disable it. So hopefully this video was helpful to you guys. If you want to subscribe, I make a couple videos a week, so it should be worth it to sub. And if you guys want to keep watching, I'll put some other videos right here. You can just click on those. And I'm looking forward to hearing from you down in the comments, especially if you have any other tips you want to share with us. So thanks so much again for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Have a good one.
Okay, I thought that was a good video. I was looking at my Chromebook to the left, and I noticed that the video was choppy. I hope the audio was okay. Stan, was it? Or Mike? Are we still connected?
Hey, Huey, this is Jerry. Your video was...
I can barely hear you.
The video was okay, Huey.
Oh, okay, good.
Yes, it was.
No, I mean, excuse me, the audio was okay. This is Jerry.
Hi, Jerry. How are you? Nice to hear from you.
Yep.
He's up in the Ocala area.
Oh, no, I'm up in Michigan.
Oh, you're in Michigan. Oh, okay, good. Well, we got them from all over the country. Anyway, Mike, you said it was all right there?
Yeah, we had stuttered video, but the audio was fine.
Yeah, that's what I was seeing on my Chromebook too. But what surprised me about that article was what he said. I always thought that when you shut down, it turned everything off, and when you did a restart, if there was anything left, it might still be there. And it was just the opposite. I was
Right.
that was good to know, and I thought that was a good explanation of all of those things. And so rather than me talking about it, I just thought I'd use that video. And by the way, that he's got a lot of really good videos out there. Again, if you're a user group and you're looking for things to show in your meetings to do, if the speaker doesn't show up, these are some things that you can use. Go to YouTube and find some of the videos from Theo Joe, or some of my things, some of Jerry Minich's presentations. John Kennedy is on, Ron Brown is on. They all have presentations in the APCUG and other places as well. So there's lots of material out there for user groups to use for your meetings that's good. Hopefully mine is considered good. Okay, so let's look at our list and see how we're doing. Well, we're not going to get too far down the list, are we? But I think everything that we're going is as well. If there's something there that
I do have a question from the audience. Hang on, Huey.
sure.
Huey, I got one comment about the video we just watched.
Okay.
Some of those videos, they talk too fast, and I can't catch it all.
Well, that's a nice thing. It's only about 2 minutes. You know, it's only a few minutes long, and you can play it over and over again.
Right, but you understand what I'm saying. They talk fast.
Yeah, and one of the things, well, they're trying to get a lot of information in there, and they're
Right.
young, and they can. But there were a couple of times where he showed a screenshot of what you had to type in the DOS prompt, and I had to go back and freeze the screen and write it down, and then go back and then try it. So yeah, absolutely, they do go very fast. Where what I do with these presentations is this is a more informal. I'm doing it as if I was in front of CFCS and doing the WinSIG, very informal and just doing things. I don't practice any of this. I put the list together. I usually go through most of the articles, at least glance through them. Sometimes I don't even read all of it. I can just see that, yeah, there's a lot of really good information there. And then I try to cover it with you. So this is not meant to be a professional presentation by any means. And I think most of you that are on here understand that. And what I'm trying to do is expose all of you to this information. I give you the links, and if it's something you need to know more about, you can go back and look at the links, and those links have other links a lot of times. Okay, the question from the audience. Sure.
I agree with you 100%, Huey. I was just, you know, I'm at the age where people talk slower. I can understand what's going on.
Absolutely, I understand what you're saying.
And Joyce says hello.
Hi, Joyce. Go ahead. All right, Mike.
Hi, Huey. This is Nancy McGill. I had a question about the restart versus the shutdown. Say there's some data in there that you don't want, so I understand it's cleaner to use the restart. Can you explain what's actually happening, like where that unwanted data goes and the difference between the restart and the shutdown?
Well, when you shut down and if it's in RAM, it's going away. It disappears. It's like, let's see, how can I explain it? If you had an Etch-a-Sketch and you wipe it, it goes away and it's not there anymore. The information just disappears. If it's saving it to the hard drive, when you start back up, it picks it up from the hard drive, puts it back in RAM. And then sometimes what it was saying when you do a normal shutdown, some of that information, you know, your computer doesn't really shut off. There's something in the background, you know, that's why it knows the time until it connects, and some other things. There is a battery on the motherboard. There is some things in your computer that stay on. And what it's saying is that some things are stored in that little bit of memory and a little bit of power that's there in the memory when you shut down. But when you do the restart, it wipes it just as if you took the battery out.
So I understand that the restart's like a broom, but where does the broom come from?
I'm not sure what you mean.
The mechanism to clean out the unwanted data on the restart, where does that come from?
It's just the fact that you just take all the power away. There's nothing there to store it. There's nothing there.
Okay, so in other words, so my initial question was the difference between the restart and the shutdown. So what I'm understanding from your last comment is that on the restart, you're taking all the power away, but on the shutdown, there's still a little bit of power left. Is that the distinction?
Yes.
Okay, I understand it now. Thank you.
Huey, the way he was doing it, this is the third time I've seen that video. First of all, he got his PowerPoint slide reversed because he showed the speeds with it on and with it off, and I saw his times were inappropriate. But when you're doing this so-called hybrid sleep, which happens on a shutdown, essentially, some of what was in memory gets written to the hard drive and is actually on the sectors. So if you were really concerned about security and your drive being compromised and people being able to recover things from those sectors, that information is actually written somewhere. It's not, you know, a file as we would normally see it, but it's written somewhere. But if you do the restart, theoretically, it's going to do a completely cold shutdown. Or if you go to the control panel or the settings and you deselect the fast start and then you shut down, it's not going to write anything at all to the hard drive.
Yeah, and I'm presuming when you do the shutdown and start up again, whatever was there and it used, the next time you shut down, it's going to overwrite that.
It should, yeah.
And so it's not going to. So if forensics, the police department, for instance, wants to get into your computer, they're not going to want to turn on your computer, because if they do, and when they shut down, it's going to go. That information is going to go away. If they're trying to get some information that might be important to them, so they take the hard drive out and then go to the hard drive and then do it in a different way, I would imagine. So if you're concerned about that, what you would do is you would do a restart, then do a shutdown,
and make sure that that fast startup checkbox was unchecked.
Yeah,
because
I noticed mine is checked.
Right.
Okay, yeah, that was. I found that to be quite an interesting article and information. And as I say, it was just like he said, that most of us probably had it just the opposite, and I was one of them that did. Okay, any other comments? No, okay, let's continue then. How to get phone notifications. Okay, and then I want to show you that on mine. I'm not sure why I'm getting this light blue background that I wasn't getting before. I must have hit something to change that setting or something updated. But anyway, now it's not even going away. Okay, how to get phone notification on Windows 10 PC. Sometimes it goes away, sometimes it doesn't. Okay, recommended. Click here to repair. No, okay, let's see. Your phone app has become a hub to sync notifications from any phone to your Windows 10 computer. It's replaced Cortana app in enabling the same feature. While a user cannot replicate their phone apps on their Windows 10 devices, they can, however, get all the information right without switching devices. I'm finding more and more that if someone sends me a text or I'm doing two-factor authentication with some places, my phone doesn't happen to be next to me while I'm sitting at my desktop, and I want to have that code so I can get into what I need to get into. So while these instructions will work for the iPhone as well as Android phone, we're taking the example of an Android phone because that's what the author uses for this. So let's look at this and then make it a little bit smaller. So here's a notification. How do I get that back to be white?
It'd probably go that way if you restarted the meeting, but it's too late to do that now.
Yeah, okay, well, here, I moved it over there and it's okay. Anyway, here are the notifications. You can get notifications, photos, and messages from your phone, and I've got it hooked up that way. And let me, when I finish this article, I'll show you what I have. Hopefully I don't have anything in there that I don't want to show. But, let's see. So in this guide, we'll be covering two aspects. They are enable the notifications feature and customize the apps that send the notifications. Okay, let's enable the notifications feature. You need to make sure that your phone app on your Windows 10 computer and the Android device is up to date. So you need to make sure there is an app called Your Phone for the Windows 10. And you need to, and there's one for the Android device that you have to install, and then you have to run both of them and pair them so they talk to each other. So then have the devices paired and all set up, which is on the here, and then on the Windows 10 PC app, navigate to the notifications menu, and that's here. Let's click that and come over here. So it's going to look like this. Get the phone notifications on your PC. View all your phone's notifications as they come in and delete the ones you don't need anymore. And then you get started. So what you have to do is follow the directions for that. Let's get out of this. So the app will ask you to provide notification access to your phone and, for Android on your other device. Next, the settings page will open automatically, and you'll have to toggle the option on for your phone companion. All the notifications from your Android device will now be visible on your Windows 10 computer. And then 2, customizing the apps that send notifications. So open your phone app on your Windows 10 PC, select settings options from the bottom left corner, scroll down to the section called notifications. And that's going to look like this. And minus that. It's going to look like this. And you turn what settings and what things you want the notifications to display in your phone app. So display your in the phone app. This will toggle the feature on the Windows 10 PC. Show notification banners. Toggle the service of notification banners. If you select pick which apps notify you, you can individually select the apps to enable this. So let's escape. And then I don't know if you can see. Let's see down here. That's task view, but right next to it, I've got the phone, your phone, and it doesn't look like you can see that. But I'm going to go ahead and open it, and this is the Your Phone app. It's got photos, messages, and notifications, and I've got all of these recent messages, and this is connecting to my phone. This was last updated last night, but if I hit refresh, it will go out and connect to my phone. Sometimes I may have to refresh my phone as well, so I'm not going to do that now because it may say it's not connected, but I don't think it would even do this. I can look at any of my text messages. That is my text messages, and notifications are here. I haven't really set that up on that. And then my photos are here. So I can, I went to a restaurant, I took some pictures, and I am posting them. And why is there so many of one picture? I have no idea. But if I hit refresh that, let's see what happens. Nope. Anyway, I got a bunch of pictures in here that I've taken on my phone. It's the same picture over and over again. But anyway, so that's not perfect, but at least I can get my text messages. And so if I get something from an account, here was the code I needed, and that was 2 days ago. So it's not going to do any good for anybody to see it now. But I don't have to go grab my phone. I can see my text messages from my phone here on my PC. And I do use that. Any questions on that? Anybody besides me using it?
Nobody in our audience.
Okay, that's
no, not yet, but I'm going to start.
Yeah,
I'm going to set it up.
Yeah, I find it's just time saving. And I can also send a text message from it, and that's what I really like. And so I don't have to go find my phone and type on the small little keys, the keyboard on my machine. I can open this up. I can go into messages. I can do a new message.
Huey,
Yes.
I was interested in trying it, and I think I need retraining on how to set it up on the machine, because I tried from when you described it last time and I was not able to do it. So would you please go over the procedure of putting it on your computer?
Sure. And I may not have it on this computer, but let's go look and see. What we want to find is the store. Well, let's just do it here. You want to go to the Microsoft Store and search for your phone. Find the app. And mine will probably say it's installed. You have to get it. See, mine would say launch. You notice it said get it first, but then it realized I already have it. So what you click on get, and it will install it for you.
Thank you.
Yep.
And then on your Android phone, you go to the.
Any other questions? Okay, 4 years of Windows 10, our favorite 15 improvements. We're getting to the time when I'm going to end, so I'm just going to mention what these articles are. Real good article on all of the improvements of Windows 10. It's been around 4 years now. And if you remember that starting in January 2020, which is, what, 5 months away, is when Windows 7 is going to be out of its life cycle. So here's 18 reasons you should upgrade to Windows 10. Then there's an article on what is MSConfig, which is a good article. Fix Windows 10 freezes randomly. There's some really good help files in there for any kind of errors and problems you're having with Windows 10. So that's a good article to look over. And then some 25 hidden tricks inside Windows 10, which would be a good article to take a look at as well. And again, all of those articles, I'm going to go ahead and close Evernote down. We can close this down. We'll bring back up this. And the place to go for all of these articles is right here on the Windows SIG webpage. And then just go to the articles. In the article, it will link to the article, and you'll be able to do some research on your own. Please remember to fill out the subscription form if you're not already subscribed to our mailing list. And I notice that a lot of people aren't opening theirs. I hope you're all here, so you probably are ones that do. And I thank you. I put some time in and make sure that that's accurate and looks okay. Are there any questions either from the remote audience or the Castleberry audience?
Well, I have a comment.
Okay.
I'll go call one more time, but I've not heard anything from our Malwarebytes guy. So I think that we're probably going to have to wing it for the rest of the afternoon. And if we could stay intact with the people who've joined us across the country, I think that'd be fine.
Q&A, ask it, basket.
Yep.
Kind of thing.
Okay. Well, I'm going to turn it over to you in just a minute, and then get things ready on my Chromebook to join the other meeting in about 45 minutes. Let me see who we have on here still. I haven't even looked at the list here in a while. Ted. I see Ted is on. I hope you're feeling better and getting better. Glad to have you on. And I'm sure everybody in the audience wishes you well. And I don't see any notes in the chat box. If anyone has any questions in the remote, you're welcome to stay. They're going to do some Q&A. They had a speaker scheduled, and it looks like he has not shown up yet. And that's too bad. But I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, and let me bring back up my
Start video.
My screen, and just say that this has been the Central Florida Computer Society for August 11th, 2019. I'm Huey Poplock. I'm glad everyone joined, and I'm going to end the recording now.